Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, August 21st. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Ball State game in 15 days. The game against Michigan in 99 days. Yes, double digits till the game and just over 2 weeks till the Ball State game. It is starting to get real. If you want to celebrate the fact that it is starting to get real, let me recommend a great place to do that. That would be Jeff Ruby's of Columbus, proudly offering nationally acclaimed U.S.D.A. prime steaks, seafood and sushi, impeccable service, live entertainment, and an attention to detail that is simply unmatched. Just go to jeffruby.com/Columbus to check out the menu and make a reservation today. Going to welcome in Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeInsiders.com. We just recorded a podcast for the Buckeye Weekly feed where we talked about some of the stuff we learned from the Big Ten Network Day at Ohio State's practice on Thursday. And now we're going to hear a little bit about what we learned after the practice on Thursday, getting a chance to talk, especially to the linebackers. And Tony, I think one of the really interesting pieces of this year's Ohio State team was last year, it was kind of easy. Like some people might say too easy. Matt Patricia, I'm sure, would say it was fine. It wasn't easy. It was fine. But you just had two guys who were just, okay, it's Arvell, Reese, and it's Sonny Styles. And all right, dust your hands. That the linebacker question is answered. This year, it's a little more complicated, and I think it's a little bit more of an open question how all these pieces are going to fit together in the linebacker room.
Yeah, and it's a good question because it is a versatile group that, as Christian Alliegro told me when I asked him, he said, describe the linebacker room. And he said, strong, fast, and aggressive. I think we have multiple different players that can play multiple different positions. And so when you've got that, Tom, you've got to figure it all out, and you got to say, okay, where's this guy's best position? Where's his second best position? And how do you make all of these pieces fit? I think a lot of it is just math or, like a puzzle game sort of thing where you're like, okay, can we get this in here with this? And then is there enough room for this here? Well, maybe if we put TJ Alford here, then we could put Riley, like all of that, trying to figure that out. And then, well, how much of that? And so, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons Matt Patricia said on the Big Ten Network show that it's taken him longer this time around to figure out what everybody can do because there's just, I think, more ingredients. And so, yes, you're planning all of that and dealing with that. And I think, what we've learned is that you've got a couple of guys that can play inside and outside in Christian Alliegro and Riley Pettijohn, and two guys that can play inside and, at will or Mike and Payton Pierce and TJ Alford. Pierce is the middle linebacker, but I think it was TJ Alford was asked, so who all has played middle linebackers? Like, well, Peyton, me, I think Riley's done it. Christian's done it. Eli's done it. Like, there's five guys that have been doing it. And Christian Alliegro had nothing but good things to say about Eli Lee, how he's forced more fumbles in camp than anybody else. So that's a guy that we don't even talk about is Eli Lee and all of this. So yeah, there's a lot to figure out. Why? Yes. Good question, Tom.
Yeah, it is a really, really interesting group because you're not going to play. We've talked about, hey, they're going to be in a 4-3. Hey, they're going to be in a 4-2-5. Hey, they might be in a 3-3-5. That's a possibility. I don't think they're going to be in a 2-7-2. I'm pretty sure they're not going to play all of these guys at once. So then it's just a matter of which guys are best at which things, and then you're sort of shuffling guys in and out. And Brian Day talked about finding, different situational packages. And it feels like someone like Christian Alliegro could potentially fit almost anywhere. Do you want him to rush off the edge, almost like a Quay Russaw? Like, yeah, he could probably do that. You want him to be the Mike if Payton Pierce isn't there? Yeah, he could probably do that. He's someone who, as a veteran guy, this is a relatively young room and a relatively unproven room outside of Payton Pierce having been the third guy last year. But it feels like Christian Alliegro kind of maybe papers over some of those concerns just because he hasn't done it at Ohio State, but we've certainly seen him do this already.
Yeah, and it was interesting talking with him about, he said he's mostly just doing the outside linebacker stuff, the Sam stuff, until only recently he's been playing more off-ball inside stuff. And we've seen him inside and outside. And when I say inside, I'm talking Will and Mike, mainly Will, because I don't know that I've actually seen him at Mike, and outside being the Sam on the line of scrimmage. And also sometimes then you have to flex out to defend a slot receiver or a tight end or a tight end. And so, he said that he's comfortable doing both because he did it at Wisconsin. But here he's learning more, he's practicing more techniques. And so he feels like he is a better player now. And this has been a good 8 months of growth for him and preparation for getting him ready to do the inside and outside thing. But I thought it was interesting that only recently he said he's been playing more inside than outside. And I think that is, I don't know, is that related to Riley Pettijohn getting some good looks on the outside right now? Probably.
It certainly feels like if you're moving him off of a spot and you feel like he's good in that spot, then it's because, well, maybe you've got someone else who's good in that spot and he might be able to solve a different problem for you somewhere else. I feel like Pettijohn and TJ Alford are somewhat interchangeable in people's minds, where you saw more of Pettijohn last year. He really, he had a big game against Grambling, and it is just Grambling. We get it. Yes, it's just Grambling, but he showed you something real early. I think that stuck in a lot of people's minds. And then we didn't see him in the spring because he was banged up, really missed most of the spring. But you saw a bunch of TJ Alford. And it was like, okay, has TJ Alford now caught back up? Those two guys feel like they might help decide where a Christian Alliegro plays, depending on, okay, which one of those guys is closer to being ready or, ahead right now. And then where do they fit? And then that might impact where Christian Alliegro goes.
Yeah, and those two guys, TJ Alford, Riley Pettijohn, we're always kind of mentioning them together, but they can absolutely play together as well. And talking with TJ Alford, they all realize that, I think they all believe that they're all going to play. So they know I'm not going to get 65 snaps. Payton will get 65 probably, but everybody else is, maybe 35 to 40, however that math works out in there. And they seem pretty cool with it because they're all upbeat dudes. And talking with TJ Alford, he talked about the Riley Pettijohn as well, just the difficulty last year as a true freshman. And he said, you come out of high school, and this is TJ Alford, so you expect to come in and make plays, but then you get here and sometimes it's like you get punched in the mouth. Like you've got to sit back and reflect on that. And then I asked him, so who punched you in the mouth last year? And he's like, well, I personally didn't get punched in the mouth. It's just a thing that you've got to get used to. And I think that's just life as a freshman, and you grow from it. And that's why they tried to play them as much as they did. Like they burned a year, and I don't know that they needed to with either of those guys. Doesn't matter now, but in the past, you might want to let's try to keep these guys for 5 years. They're not going to be 5-year players. But this TJ Alford, Riley Pettijohn, two aggressive guys, and Alford said I think one of his best traits is his just ability to get the ball and knock that guy down. And Riley Pettijohn, his traits are he's a good rusher, and he said he's worked on it. It's not something he did in high school, but it's something he's worked on a lot since last year. And you got these two guys who came in together, and I think at some point you could see all three of those guys from the 2025 class on the field together, with Eli Lee being the man in the middle there, and Pettijohn and Alford being the other guys there as well.
Yeah, that might be a 2027 thing, but there is plenty of 2026 football where we will see at least two of those guys, I'm guessing, on the field quite a bit this fall. It is going to be a really fun year to just watch that linebacker group. It just feels like it's going to be a different kind of fun than it was last year. Last year was just like, holy crap, look at these guys. This is going to be, finding ways to do creative things and find creative solutions with. I mean, this is a level of talent that about 16 other Big Ten teams would probably be killing for. So, this is not exactly doing it with duct tape and baling wire at the linebacker position. James Laurinaitis has a very, very good room this year and has a defensive coordinator who has done things pretty creatively in the past, in Matt Patricia as well. So it'll be fun to watch how Matt Patricia chooses to attack things this year with that Ohio State defense. If you enjoy talking about that and talking about some of the schematic stuff, we're going to be diving even deeper on that stuff in the coming days with Michael Pettit and Ross Fulton, planning on doing some shows with both of those guys, talking about some of the scheme stuff. We have also put out a call to our members at BuckeyeInsiders.com on the Insiders board. We have a thread where we've asked people to put in questions for scheme shows that they want, or scheme questions that they want answered. Wow, there has been a lot. Turns out you guys are really interested in scheme stuff, which is good news. We have two scheme guys among our staff at BuckeyeInsiders.com. If you want to read more, you want to ask some of those questions, we'll do chats on that stuff. Like, you tell us what you want, we will do it for you. That is all at BuckeyeInsiders.com. Just announced our first member-only tailgate coming up for later this fall. That's going to be really fun. Going to do some fun live events for our members as well. So if you want to be a part of all that fun, you can get access for the price, Tony, of a lousy chain store pizza. And that was like the price of a lousy chain store pizza like 5 years ago. Chain store pizzas are more expensive now. Buckeye Insiders, still the price of a lousy chain store pizza from like 6 years ago. So if you want to find us, you can find us there at BuckeyeInsiders.com. And thanks again to our friends at Jeff Ruby's of Columbus, the award-winning upscale steakhouse in downtown Columbus, named one of the top 50 steakhouses in America by Food Network. Just go to jeffruby.com/Columbus to check out the menu and make a reservation today. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.